11-page stories.
Written through L.T. Zupan. Read by L.T. Zupan.
Story number 6. Victory. 1 Victor ended his phone call by pressing the end call button on his then contemporary charcoal textured phone. He set it down slowly and tried to pinpoint the exact thread which had bothered him of what had just transpired. It didn't take long because it was pretty obvious. It was something in the tone of the voice of his former best friend, something which had given away to Victor a certain drift. That drift was that his friend had officially given up on everything he had claimed to aspire to in his youth. He had conceded, and there was just no convincing him otherwise. Victor felt woozy from the realization. It made him understand just how much he had loved his former best friend. Former as of 3 minutes ago, when Stan had shown what he had become. He was something Victor could never relate to now. Someone who had disregarded the last of his human dignity, honor, and nobility. He turned his phone off and finished his second beer, feeling like he was in a bad dream. It was about to get much worse. He had never had a swelling experience of this magnitude ever in his life. Dizzying, to say the extreme least. Victor snapped, not unhinged, but like snapping into alignment, while shuffling off most of one's former self. Outside of his condominium in Tower City, an absolutely massive town the size of Miami or New York City, it is a warm day and it is noon. He lives in an average district of the city, and he stands outside his door for a moment and looks angularly up towards the old sun, which is not blazing, but is far from quiet. He had never enjoyed breathing so much. It was like he was devouring the air, consuming it with more than zeal. His car was a dark olive green 80s Buick, with minor strips of it rusting away slowly. He had money, but he also had an attachment to that Buick, which is why he still had the dilapidated old thing. The sentimental type Victor had been. Now he was in his early 40s and gray hairs were starting to fry out of his skull one by one. Victor now knew exactly where he was going, both geographically and in life. As of 5 minutes ago, in fact, when he had snapped. A whole new world of emotions was blossoming within Victor's brain and body, along with the certain pulpine dismissal of them. Maybe not a dismissal altogether, but a trouncing to a degree from a greater sense of self, honing into a jagged, clean knife. He rounded the street corner with his car. The destination was to Harry's Corner, although Victor didn't know his name was Harry, nor had he ever cared to, because Harry was a very seedy character. Victor ran over a small marble with his lower right tire. It wasn't crushed, but it did form a crack all the way through it and tumble to the side into 2 pieces after being run over by fast tread. 2 glass halves. Victor made a brief detour to the ATM. He didn't know the first thing about street fighting. He got out $450, just in case, and looked at the receipt which told him he had less than $1,400 in savings. Not nearly enough, he thought. His soul was burning with the fury of its infinite life. Harry was predictably there, kind of half-circling his bus stop, with its black bench and rain covering. Tower City was something filled with silver and black metal bus stops. The industrial city it was and is. Victor parked his car across the street, 40 yards north of Harry and his corner. He sat in his car and puffed on his smoke. It was a striking and beautiful midday outside. He took a drag and looked in front of him. No one crossing the street, nothing eventful to ponder. This all made sense to him. Harry was a scruffy white man, maybe in his mid-30s. He wore a backpack and black-tinted oval sunglasses. Ugly glasses, really. He had half an eye on Victor's Buick soon after it had parked. He half cared to watch as Victor made his way to the corner on foot. He was bored and broke and pissed off at his former business associate. Victor neared and then sat on the bus stop bench as if waiting for a bus. He threw a little glance to Harry and then made as though he was still waiting for a mythical bus. Harry pretended to be waiting on a bus as well, and walked within earshot of Victor. Yes, he had seen this guy once or twice before. This was one of the very many people who always avoided his kind, until they needed something, that was. Oh yes, he knew those types, and he made good money off of them when the formulas of the scenarios were just right. 2 ... Victor was getting impatient. He had gotten his goddamn cheeseburger. Had killed his time. He had waited through the last stagnant 65 minutes. And now Harry was late. And he was reaching an internal boiling point. He was tapped on the back. He arced slowly around and Harry had a brown paper bag in his hand in front of him. Victor took the bag slowly and began to walk to his car. "Hey!" Harry yelped fiercely, and then lowered his voice and looked around. "You still owe me the other half, man." "Jesus, I forgot. Preoccupied with my purchase, I guess. I'm sorry, I really did forget. Here." And he pulled his wallet out and paid Harry the rest of his due, plus an extra $25. Harry counted it discreetly and put it in his pocket quickly. "Hey, you let me know if you ever need anything else, okay? I get you an even better price next time now that I done business with you. I gotta go now, man. Have a good one, Vic." 1 second went by at the bus station with the two of them about to part ways. "Yeah, I will be back, Harry, because I might want something stronger. Can you get me anything stronger? Just hit me up when you're ready. I'll get you whatever you need. I'll see you later, man." "Yeah. Because I'll need something stronger. Something more expensive, you know? Something meaner. Something with some muscle. Some real firepower. Not just this measly fucking .357. You know what I mean?" And Victor dropped the brown paper bag on the ground, leaned slightly forward, and kicked Harry square in the belly. Victor lurched forward like a lightning bolt and plucked Harry's pistol out of Harry's pocket. He pushed it into the small of his back and said, "Now give me the bag off the ground." Harry did as he was told. Victor then insisted they walk together to his Buick. Once inside, Victor said, "That's better. These seats are so much comfier than standing. Don't you think so, Harry?" Harry just stared at him, seemingly in thought. The Buick had tinted windows. Victor turned on some music very, very loudly. It was death metal. "So do you like selling guns, Harry? Make you feel good, getting all that money. Make you feel good when people shoot people. I have a feeling it's going to make me feel good in the near future, so don't get the wrong idea. I understand. It's not that you've done anything wrong, you see. It's just that I'm stronger than you. It's not that there is anything wrong with intimidating others. It's just that my spirit is fucking stronger than yours. Stronger than anyone's, actually. Right now, at least. So..." The music blared. Victor moved Harry's gun over and shot Harry between the legs, and then reflected on the weapon he had used. "Nice piece," he said loudly enough to be heard. "One gun to another, you know," as he looked at the erupting red bulbous mound between Harry's legs, as he looked at the stained camo pants and then up to Harry's screaming face. He took a pen from his glove box and fiercely, quickly stabbed each of Harry's eyes. Then he pulled back into his driver's seat and watched the glory of the red rivers flowing out of his new friend's eyeballs as the life drained from his brain-pierced body. Yes, he was dead very quickly, but the appearance of his whole empty face, focaled by the large, hollow, dark red draping eye sockets, and the long, deep, and dark blood-tear triangle streams and strings below them, was more than the beauty of any painting a human could witness, more alive than any living experience, more real than any artist's sculpturing, more timeless and Gothic than any styling. His jaw had dropped open and the blood was dripping off the two sides of it. Harry's bloody dead hands remained clutching his shot crotch. Harry's still fresh screaming had an effect within Victor which was indescribable, 500 times more sacred than any orgasm or any Wagner or invigoration, and it filled him with an unfathomable charge. He breathed in very deep and fast, and then opened the passenger door and kicked Harry out onto the road. Now it was time for the next step in Victor's lethal and unstoppable progression. He drove off casually and loaded his new .357 he had bought for $365. Harry's personal gun, a .38, was just a bonus. Victor stowed them both in the glove box as he drove to his planned robbery. 3 ... Victor had also purchased 2 silencers from the deceased Mr. Harry. He wore a coat with very large and deep side pockets, and he had already screwed the silencers on. Silencio. Victor was firmly and briskly walking past one mall kiosk after another on his way to the first of several anchor stores within the mall. Cell phone cases with little fuzzy animal ears on them held no interest. He walked into the Macy's. After the manager had given him a considerable amount of cash from various registers, he shot him in the head 3 times. Ammo jingled around in his interior coat pockets, brassy and heavy. On his way to the J.C. Penney's, the 4th store he visited that balmy day, he shot and killed a line of 4 beautiful teenage girls, perhaps 19 they were, or 20 years of age. He sneered and walked faster. This time the manager was quicker. No one seemed to have any audacity around him during this excursion. No one talked back to him, which made him a little angry, honestly, but not the rage he would have felt if they had had. A father was holding his baby, trying to calm it down from screaming, and he was doing a terrible job at it. Simply awful. Victor decided to help the situation. He had a stolen backpack slung on him, full of money. He balled his left hand into a fist. He was left-handed, you know. And got very near to the father with his kid. He slammed his fist into the baby's head, causing its head to hit the dad's head and drop them both to the ground in a mildly gory sprawl. He spat on them both and realized it was now time to break into a run. He sprinted to his strategically parked car and sped away in a flash, now $27,000 richer. Richer, as they say. Victor was no longer one to waste time, you see. In the space of 99 minutes, he had already changed his plates, with a matching make and model from a car that wouldn't be noticed for a few days at least, and bought a substantial amount of clothes, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, and even a few brand new cheeseburgers. He was on his way to one of the clubs he never could have afforded earlier that day, and the sun was falling into the dark night. A mile or so, close to the club strip, Victor paused. His Buick was idling at a traffic light which had just become red. A skinny puppy was crossing the street, weaving in and out of the crosswalk lines at random. It was moving very slow, and it almost looked very sad. Well, it was miserable at the least anyways. It had patches of black fur missing, and a small limp in the front paw. Victor threw a cheeseburger from his window, and it landed in 2 halves, as it was already split through the center, being as it is a sandwich with marbled rye buns, at the dog's feet. The stoplight traffic signal turned green. Victor rode further on into the pale. Later now, Victor was very high. He had drugged himself on mainly stimulants and alcohol. He was walking back out to his car, parked outside of the club. He slowed his walk through the thoroughfare and the sidewalk to side of the boulevard's greenery, trees sprouting from every which place they thought of. He noticed on his slowing walk 2 limousines, tinted a deep black on all of the windows. He continued back to his parked car. Parked near his car was a cluster of vehicles. The people standing around them were having a little powwow of sorts. looked like. Since it was only 8 feet from his vehicle, he decided to go and meet them. Maybe they were friendly, who knows. "What's up, man?" the dude asked Victor. "Nothing. Hey, are you all smoking?" "Nah. Yeah, I think you'd better be getting on, man." "Hey, do you know just how fucking obnoxious that is? You know, it wouldn't kill you to be a little friendlier sometimes." Now the group began paying more attention to him and quieted sharply. They began to gather around him. "Look, man, we're doing our thing here right now, and like I said, I think you would better fucking leave, man." "Yeah, go be friendly somewhere else," one of the man's presumed friends muttered. Victor shrugged with his face, as if to say, fine, who cares? He turned from the group slowly as if to walk away and returned to his car, and then spun back around, crouching and simultaneously pulling his metal bat out of his backpack, striking one of them in the small of the back. The man shrieked. Victor reached forward and grabbed one of the girl's large breasts with his free hand and twisted it while pushing her into another gentleman, knocking them both over. One man remained standing, and Victor wheeled around 150 degrees clockwise and smashed his cranium in with his aluminum baseball bat. Blood splayed and spattered onto the shiny paint of their shitty old Impala. He began kicking the gaping others that were on the ground. Full fierce kicks with all his weight transferred through his hips and into the brand new steel-toe tips of his large shiny black and silver boots. He jumped up high and landed square with his feet on 2 of their heads. A large audible crack resonated from the smaller of the skulls, and everyone, excluding Victor, cringed. The man who was hit on the small of the back was recovering and was attempting to amble away in a haggard, malformed walk. "Hey!" Victor screamed at the man. "What's your name?" The man froze. "Don't fucking kill me, man. Don't fucking kill me. Just, please, I'm sorry. Don't fucking kill me." "Yeah, well, I might not if you tell me your goddamn name. I mean, don't you think a little compliance might help you out right now? It's not like I'm trying to weasel your social security number out of you, or your routing number, or whatever." And he trailed off, seemingly losing interest. He kicked the girl in the breast he had earlier twisted with his fist. She winced and writhed and folded her arms over her upper torso and closed her eyes. She was weeping and spasming. Her skull was cracked in several places, and she didn't have much longer left to her living. "Mel. My name is Mel, okay?" "That's better, Mel," Victor said, as his attention was pricked and roused. He turned to face his new friend. "So, my new friend Mel, you know, I must say, that weed you all must have been smoking sure did smell very, very, very nice to me. It's too bad I'm not in the mood to smoke with any of you anymore. Well, what's left of you. Sorry if I killed your buzz, though." And he smiled at Mel. A pause of total silence hovered over everyone. Finally, Victor said, "So I'm going now, and you should probably be friendlier to strangers in the future, you know? Not just all fucking cliquey and rude. Afraid to live in a world where everyone is fucking kind to each other. Whatever. I've got to get out of this place. See you, Mel." And Victor flung the bat at Mel so it hit him perfectly in the temple, promptly deflating him and giving him a lethal, severe bruise, just as Victor had somehow innately known that it would. In fact, Victor had practically had a vision of his falling, pathetic Mel's downfall. "It's all over in a flash sometimes," Victor spoke quietly and monotonely to himself as he walked around the corner to the limousine slowly. The moon was rising in Tower City. Victor now had his 2 guns drawn. He shot 4 of the rich people mulling about the limos, listening to music demos on headphones as they were there. That was all it took for the rest of the crowd to scatter. Victor shot one of the limo's front door handles, opening its door. A small, pudgy black man was shaking and nervous in its front seat, but he was not afraid to look straight at Victor. He had his dignity. "Can you drive?" I mean, like, no matter what happens, can you stay focused and drive? Calm and collected and cool. The chubby black man looked at the Glocks. He looked back at Victor very, very slowly, deep in thought. Then he began to stop shaking and said, "Where are you going, sir?" "Not too far, I hope." "Don't worry, I can get you there. I'll get you there." The man was obviously racked with 1,000 racing thoughts, as well as his battle with his own adrenaline. "That's all you had to say," Victor said. "Unlock the back doors. 4 .. Here? Here? Is it here? Meta? Turn on meta? Calm down, sir. I'm not gonna fucking kill you. Christ." Victor sighed. He was eyeing the cross streets they were passing intently. A helicopter began to appear in the soundscape, then several. Then they were all visible, chopping and screaming with a dark, scary sort of life to them. Victor knew in his gut, no, in the base of his spine, what those black helicopters were really all about. They were the only ones left who still thought they could stop him, but not for long. The 6 black helicopters were making the driver, Sammy, very, very nervous indeed. "Wait for it, Sammy. Wait for it," Victor soothed. Victor rolled down his window and stuck his arm out, with its small bicep out the window. He fired one shot upward without even looking, although Sammy was definitely looking at him, Victor with his crazy fucking activity. A helicopter screeched and then whirled slowly down like a gigantic maple seed to crash onto the road in front of the limo. Sammy squealed the car and veered around it. Victor applauded him. Victor lauded him. The other helicopters fled. 5 .. There, that's it. Casio. Turn right, there on Casio. Victor waved his pointing hand to the right. They turned. The broken night charred along the road. 5 minutes went by. 10, 15. "Stop," Victor said firmly. "Okay, Sammy, now I'm getting out. I've left $14,000 in the back here that no one needs to know about. What I want you to do is turn this limo back around, go back up Casio Alley, and go all the way back to the club where I'm sure there will be police waiting. You can tell them whatever you like, although I'm sure you would anyhow. And also I want to thank you, Sam, strange as this all may seem." He got out and slammed the fucking door. Victor waited the 3 minutes it took for the limo to be far from line of vision. He walked to a sidewalk-sized alley that branched out from Casio Alley. It was full dark now, save the moon. The alleylet had no name. After a few minutes, he reached an oval-shaped opening where the alley became as wide as 8 feet at its broadest point. Someone had spray-painted a black symbol on the tarry, stony, rough ground. It was a symbol obviously not of this world. It pulsed with a disturbing threat and potentiality to it. The symbols it was closest to on our planet were various ancient sigils from various dark magics, and the inverted pentagram, of course. As Victor was drawn to look at its center, like an eye, it stared back at him. The center of the ground cracked, and a black vein, like lightning in appearance, but far from electrical, shot up to the heavens. Victor stepped back a few paces. A creature worse than a creature emerged out of it and sort of stood in front of him. The entire environment became darker than Victor had ever thought was possible. There is now a way to begin to describe it. His fear leapt forward, and his hope shriveled and heavily inverted. He gawked and froze. The creature rose to its full standing position. Victor's pistols fell to the ground and began to fizzle and sizzle and spark. Even though your planet has always insisted on calling me Satan, I am far, far worse than that. In fact, you could never even pronounce what I am called. I just wanted you to know that first. And it grew some form of a hideous smile on its head. Its eyes were a sick, solid beet red. The rest of its form was also indescribably wrong and awful. Victor fell to his knees and looked up at those terrible eyes. Yes. Yes. Good. Get in position. Now open your skull, the creature said, and moved slowly closer to Victor. When it was a foot away from him, Victor sprung up from the ground, jumped as high as he could muster, and kicked the creature once in its head-like thing. It did something like cackle. He landed. He stared straight at it and punched it once, square in its head-like thing. It made a hideous noise and died instantly, dismembered by the blow. The ground enveloped it and sewed and stitched itself back shut, permanently healed. Darkness faded. At this point, Victor had pretty much forgotten all about Stan. Just then, the moon enlarged and grew brighter as it did so, and silverer somehow. And wouldn't you know it, Kali fell from the sky. She placed herself in his arms. As they touched each other, the world changed. It reverted back to its original magical self. A ray of light came from the western horizon, and sunrise was upon them, and upon all of us, the victors.